My husband said that he's craving some sourdough, so we're gonna make him some sourdough loaf. But here's the thing, I've only ever made sourdough bread one time before and it came out perfect. So this is my second time making sourdough bread and I'm just praying that it comes out as good as it did the first time. But here's the thing, I'm gonna be making it a little bit more tricky for myself because I'm making 2 breads today. So I'm gonna be doubling the recipe, which I've never done before, and from historical pasts, I have never been really good at doubling recipes. It always gets so complicated for some reason, but we're gonna try it today because I really want to make a chocolate chip sourdough loaf, and you have to make a classic dough as well. So we're gonna be making 2, and I'm praying that it comes out as good. So disclaimer, I cannot promise you that it's going to be perfect, but we're going to certainly try, and I'll walk you through the exact steps that I took for the first time that it came out perfect. Let's do it. So I laid out all of the things that I'm going to need. Now, when it comes to actually making sourdough, you're going to need some sourdough starter. Now, here's the thing. You can make your starter at home, and it's a process. So it's going to take a few weeks in order to get it to the state that you want it to in order to actually make your sourdough. Now, I'll leave in the description the exact recipe that I used, and I'll break down the steps as we go through it in detail. Now, for my starter, I've had this in the fridge for about a week, so I fed it this morning. So you need to make sure that once your starter is ready to go, you feed it at least 6 to 12 hours before you actually use it. So you want it to double in size like so and be really bubbly. So this air is the fermentation that essentially is what makes sourdough sourdough. Now I've had this going on for a few weeks now, and you want to really stick to the correct measurements here. Something that I did was buy a scale to make sure that I'm getting the exact measurements. I find that it really is about measurements and steps. As soon as you follow those exacts, you can't really go wrong with it, but I'll walk you guys through the exact steps that we took. Now, we're going to start by putting in some warm water to our ceramic bowl. Now I have a really big bowl because I want this to be able to hold a dough that's going to double in size. So I got my biggest bowl, I have my flour ready to go, I have my scale that I'm going to use to measure out all the ingredients, and something to mix the dough and water in. Now I'm going to put some water here first to start, then I'm going to go in with my sourdough starter, and then my flour to mix it in, and that's how we're gonna get our dough. And now I put my bowl on my scale, and I'm gonna zero out the scale. And I'm gonna start by adding about 325 grams of water. Now, I wanna make sure that this water is nice and warm. It's really gonna help everything settle really well and dissolve the starter really well. So, warm water into the bowl, 325 grams. Now we're going to go in with some starter. Now we're going to do 100 grams of starter, so I'm going to zero out my scale again. And then we're going to put 100 grams of our starter. And now, because we are doubling the recipe, I'm going to go in with another 325 grams of water and then another 100 grams of our starter. I almost forgot a very important ingredient, salt. We need 10 grams of salt, so we're going to double it. We're going to do 20 grams of salt, and I'm just going to mix it in because I almost forgot. I really hope this comes out good. This is kind of chaotic. This is what our dough is looking like. Now we're gonna leave this aside for about 30 minutes, and I'm gonna cover this with like a tea towel. I want this to rise for 30 minutes, and then we'll be back to give it its first stretch. About 30 minutes, so now we're gonna do our first stretch and fold. Now you want to wet your hands a little bit if your dough is really sticky, so this tends to help it not be as sticky. Just wet your hands just slightly. You're going to pull the corners, and then you're going to pull up, and and back down itself. Turn the bowl, and then do the same process. I'm going to put a damp tea towel over this for another 30 minutes, and then we'll repeat the process again. Okay, another 30 minutes went by, and this is what our dough is looking like. So we're going to do another stretch and fold around the whole thing, and then set it for another 30 minutes down to settle. Thirty minutes is up. Now we're going to do it again, just wet my fingers, and we're going to lift. I'm going to give this one good final stretch, and then we're going to let it sit for 6 to 12 hours. And then I'll show you guys how we also are going to pack it up to put in the fridge. I like to let it sit overnight in the fridge and then bake it right in the 12-hour mark. So I'll walk you guys through the next process. But this is how we're going to leave it to sit under this damp towel for 6 to 12 hours, 6 hours minimum. And preferably you want this near a warm place. So I'm going to leave it next to the stove because the stove always is getting turned on throughout the day, and it creates a little bit of a warmth around here. So I'm going to just leave this and we'll check back on it. Bom dia, bom dia, bom dia. It is the next morning. It's about 8 a.m. I'm exhausted. It's also really gloomy out, so gloomy days are a little bit harder to get out of bed, in my opinion. I have a jam-packed day today. Our bread is looking incredible. I can't wait to show you guys and also do the next steps because this is like my favorite part. We're gonna season them and they're looking good. Let me show you what our bread is looking like because I'm very excited. Peak this morning, and he woke me up because he said, I need this bread. I'm so excited. Oh, you guys, it's huge. Look at that. Look at those air bubbles. Now it did get a little hard on the top. That's why it's important to do like a damp towel over it when it's settling and rising, so it can keep the moisture in here, but it's okay. We could, just take this layer off, or we could also, I've done this before where the last time that I did this, it did harden pretty fast, so I kind of just mixed it in and it was totally fine. So let's get this out. I'm gonna put some flour out on the table there so we could separate it out, because remember we doubled the recipe, so this is gonna be 2 loaves worth. I'm gonna season one of them with some chocolate and cinnamon, so that's gonna be exciting. So I'll walk you guys through the steps here, but we're essentially gonna separate it out into 2 even batches, and then we'll roll it out and put it in the fridge to settle again. It needs to rise one more time before we cook. Now I'm just gonna clean my surface off here so that the bread doesn't pick up any sort of dust or particle into our dough. Just wanna give it a good wipe down. And then I'm gonna come in here and just sprinkle a little bit of flour on the surface, just so our dough doesn't stick. separating them out. I think that's a pretty decent size. Now, one of them I want to make a chocolate chip one with some chocolate chip and cinnamon. I think that would be fun, but now I don't know which one I should do. I feel like I should make one of them a little smaller because I do want to put it in this guy, and then the other one I'm going to put it in here. So I think I'm going to do maybe just cut it like this and then add it to this guy. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to put the chocolate chip right on there, and then I'm going to roll it up. I feel like you need like brown sugar, but maybe the chocolate will be enough. I think I'm gonna add a little bit more. Then I'm gonna roll this up just like in itself, like this. Ooh, this is gonna be challenging. It's sticky. I'm gonna roll this into itself. Oh, that's perfect. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Okay, so now we're just gonna roll it into itself, and this is where we create that loaf-like shape. Now, because I have some chocolate chips in here, I want to be just really careful with it. And I do have a little bit more that I'm wondering if I should just try to put it in here somehow. I also don't want to ruin what we have going on. And pretty much the same motion. You're going to want to just put a little bit of flour on your hands and the surface and kind of make it into a ball into itself. So you see how I'm rolling right into itself, kind of like a candy cane shape. So I go up and then around. And you want it to be this perfect ball. And I think that's pretty good. And then from here, we're gonna let it sit for about 15 to 20 minutes. So that hard shell that we removed from the first, we're gonna let it sit here and it's gonna develop that hard shell. Once that settles, we'll go ahead and prep it to get into the basket here. So let's leave this alone for a little bit and then we'll come back in about 15, 20 minutes. Okay, it's been a little over 15 minutes. Now our bread is ready to rest overnight. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put it in these little baskets and we're gonna cover them. Now I don't have plastic, but I do have these little bread compartments that are to hold bread and keep them fresh. So I'm gonna use this to do the seal, but essentially we're gonna get our rested bread. I'm gonna start with my smaller one here. This is my chocolate guy. And then I'm gonna do the same thing and I'm going to just make it into that little ball and I'm gonna flip it and put it down like so. And then what we're gonna do is called the pinch. So we're gonna pinch these ends together just so it helps in the resting and rising of the bread. Now this is gonna be rising overnight again for about 15 hours and we're gonna leave it there. We're gonna cover it after. Let's do this one now. So same thing, let's grab it from the bottom and the bottom's gonna be stickier than the top. So that's why we're gonna flip it. So the stickier part is on top. And then same thing here, we're gonna pinch the sides so it looks kind of like a dumpling. All right, and now we're gonna cover it. Again, if you have plastic, it's probably the best, but I don't. So we're gonna use this. Slow, cold rise. And that's honestly what I did the last time and what I think made it so perfect. Easier to score, easier to cook. So we're gonna put this in the fridge now. Okay, we've been preheating the oven at 500 for about an hour with the Dutch oven inside the oven. The Dutch oven inside for about an hour. So now we're going to score and prepare the bread, and we're gonna put it in the Dutch oven. But right before, I just took it out of the fridge, so we're gonna do the bigger one first. And you want to score it. Ooh. I think this will be big enough. I think it might. So get some parchment paper. It feels a little wet. I'm like scared that it's a little too wet. I think I put a little bit too much.
Yeah, that's not dusted. That's like,
Okay, but I feel like I need to like preserve this, you know? Let me just preserve it there. I'm making a mess. That's good. Just put this on top here for a second. Perfect. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is, which design do you want to do? Should we do some flowers? Okay, we have these little tinsels that I think would be super cute. So we're gonna do flowers this time. Okay, cute. And now let's score it down the middle here. See, this kind of sucks. I feel like.
I feel like that's bad. That's not gonna work.
Yeah, I think a knife. I need something sharp. Okay. In the Dutch oven, can you take it out of the oven and you're gonna just like toss this parchment paper in there. I'll probably lift it. I fear this guy's gonna be big.
Oh, that's a good score.
Oh, careful. Good job. Ooh. All right. Ah! There goes nothing. I'm worried. Oh, I really hope it works out. Okay. 20 minutes. How do I do it?
Yeah.
4, 7, 5, start. Okay. So now we're dropping the temperature to 475 and you're gonna put it back in for 15 minutes without the lid. Oh my god, are we gonna do something cool? Alright. So for another 15 to 20 minutes. I think maybe 20. Let's see. What do we think?
I think that looks great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Our first one is done. Look at that. The design's kind of got burnt, but it's okay. It looks great. All right, so let's put it to the rack. Okay, let's do the chocolate chip one quickly. I do want to score this. I think down the middle. Close it. All right. Go, go, go. Came out pretty good.
That's pretty good.
I think even better, more holes. Looks great. Yay. We were so worried.
Actually, that's not that bad. But yeah, the whole layer of chocolate was at the top, not in the inside.
Yeah, it pulled apart. Yeah, I knew I should have added more.
Yeah, you needed it like more in somehow.
Well, I did. I opened it and then I rolled it into a burrito. But when I scored it, it just opened. But that's not bad. Yay, look at that. Look at our sourdough bread. This one came out not as bad as I thought. The whole chocolate popped out. But I'd say we did a pretty good job. I'm gonna make us some breakfast later. And I'm gonna use some of these. Like, how amazing. And the sound. We just love. Love, love.